Welcome back to Good Moms, Bad Choices. I'm Erica.
And I'm Milah.
And it's the first week of April.
Happy spring.
I know y'all love when I sing.
Nobody loves it when you sing.
Nobody loves when you sing, okay? You are off
Don't.
key. You are fucking off key all the time.
Don't get me started.
See, guys? What I tell you.
Don't let me freestyle on my voice, okay?
So it's April, and we're getting out of Money March, which I hope you guys enjoyed last month because we had some amazing guests. I feel very much more empowered about my finances. I'm really excited because we are going to be joining Loose Warrior for her Wealth Rules Everything Around Me course starting on May 1st and 2nd. I'm pretty sure it's already sold out, but she is partnering with us and giving 4 scholarships to 4 of our listeners to join that class, and it's going to be amazing. So if you want to learn more about finances and feel more empowered, first of all, follow Loose Warrior because she's the shit. And secondly, make sure you look out for her next course because I think she's going to do another round. And look out for that giveaway because you could be in class with us. We're students. We're students again.
Yeah.
You've been wanting to take a class.
I know. I have for like 2 years. I'm very excited to start here with my finances. I'm feeling very empowered this April. It's spring. It's time to birth some shit. Erica and I are birthing lots of shit.
So many things.
So I'm feeling springy. I'm feeling ready to give birth to all of our things and run with it so I can chill by the pool in the summer.
I'm going to get you on that yacht, baby.
We're getting on this fucking yacht if it's the last thing I do. Can't wait.
Well, I'm really excited because this month there's not necessarily a theme per se, but I do want to focus on wellness, tapping back into our wellness, checking in with ourselves. At the beginning of the year, we talked a lot about manifestation and we talked a lot about, just healing. And so I'm just really excited because we have a special guest here who I feel like is going to help, kickstart this month off really in a really amazing way. So Devi Brown, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here with you guys.
Welcome.
And if you guys don't know who Devi is, you will by the end of this episode, and you should anyway. She is the Chief Impact Officer at Chopra, and she has her own podcast called Dropping Gems with Devi Brown, which is amazing. I was listening to it on the car ride here, and I was screen recording shit. I was I need to come back to this. I was yes. What? So make sure you check that out. But welcome, Devi. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Big fan of you guys. Really happy to be here and talk about all of the things.
So I know Devi from 100 years ago. Not 100. We're still young. But
so young.
Prior to children.
We were just infants. That's all.
Prior to children's. And it's been so cool to watch your journey.
Thank you.
And I know we talked a little bit before the episode, and you said kind of you've always been kind of trying to tap into this space, but you kind of didn't always feel the space to do it, or you would be judged or something.
Yeah.
Can you tell our listeners a little bit about you?
Yeah. So, speaking to that, I'll start there. I think when I think about being a seeker and just kind of being on this path, part of what lent itself to that, and I don't know if anyone will identify with this, but I was the only child raised by a single mom, and I was a latchkey kid for many years. And by nature of that, you go inside, I was my only playmate as a kid.
You know what? I never thought about that. I was an only child till I was 13 too.
Yeah. And so usually, especially if you have a single parent, it lends itself to kind of a high level of maturity really young, and you're navigating with a lot of adult language, adult understanding, even if you're not ready for it. So it kind of lends itself to a lot of natural ability to be in self-inquiry, which I think is the foundation of our spiritual journey. It's curiosity. That's how we get to change. That's how we get to grow. That's how we get to heal. We get really curious about ourselves or our situations or how our life has unfolded, and we start seeking out the things that we feel called to. So that, to that extent, I would consider myself, I was the kid that, the teenager that had self-help books. didn't apply most of it.
Wait, were they Chicken Soup to the Teenage Soul?
Yeah, right,
Because that was my
So
self-help
did I.
book.
Yes. It was like the 7 highly effective, traits of teens. And
You were reading that as a teenager?
Yeah,
Oh,
you were
my
very
God.
mature.
Wow.
I was
Well-
reading Coldest Winter Ever.
that too, shout out to duality. But no, it took me years to apply, as I think is the thing, right? Like we get the tools, but it's like when we embody is just about our divine timing. So like intellectually, I had the tools, didn't always use them, but then as I got older, they started sinking into my heart and started being like a way of being. But yeah, I started my career in entertainment. That's how we met, in the entertainment world many moons ago. And I was a radio personality for a while, did some TV, mostly worked in hip hop for close to 15 years. And it was amazing. It fed my curiosity in so many ways. I loved the music. But then, I really felt called to spend like my 3D life more connected to what my 5D life looked like. So like I wanted to make the world that I was in for my work on earth to also be more representative about how I actually spent my private time and like what I actually thought about and what I was actually interested in. It got harder. Like I don't even, in this moment, like I don't watch television at all. I listen to the same 3 songs over and over, frequency music, like. So it was just harder to stay or to feel like I had to really be enthusiastic about things that didn't feel like they were of interest to me in that moment. So I took the leap almost 5 years ago. I started my business, Karma Bliss, and then the wellness kind of revolution really started happening and deepening in that time span. And now I take up space in a multitude of ways. But yeah, I just mostly underneath it all, I feel grateful for the opportunity to lead a really curious life.
That's amazing. And I know that you're a mother too, and you have a little
Yes.
boy. How old is he?
He will be 3 in May.
What a lucky child
Right.
to have a mom that's done so much work, and like I think for me and Milah too, like I think being a parent allows you this unique opportunity to kind of like do everything over, or like question the things that you grew up knowing and change that perspective for your child, give them like more space and more grace in so many ways, whether that's in playtime, boys playing with Barbies and not being judged, or like little girls wearing crop tops and not being sexualized. Or mom smoking weed and it not being the end of the motherfucking world.
Or just giving your child the gift of like taking a time out, identifying your feelings and labeling your emotions, and like where our parents were like, shut the fuck up.
Right,
You're fine. You're okay. Are you alive? So it's like, what a gift to be able to have a mom that's aware and is doing the work and then offer that. Because I think that has been a big part of our journey, like figuring ourselves out, and then in turn being like, oh shit, we have this huge responsibility to not only figure ourselves out, but figure it out as quickly as possible, because we are an example to someone else who inevitably will have to be figuring it out in their 30s if we don't start doing the work now so they can start doing the work now.
Oh my God, and it's like, it feels so good being a parent and like parenting with such thoughtfulness and such consideration. It's like every time we extend that kind of grace and dignity and unconditional love to our kid, we're just feeding it right back to ourselves. It's instantly filling our own hearts and healing wounds from childhood, or giving us permission to like expand into the fullest versions that we are right now. It's wild. Like before I had a child, I legitimately used to think people over exaggerated about how much they love their kids.
You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, we get it.
Oh my God.
Get it. They'd be like, my kid is my world. And I'd be like, I get it. You gave birth. It's a child. And now I'm like, oh my God, this is the deepest thing in life.
Right.
Like,
Oh my God.
it's the greatest gift, my sacred child. Like, obsessed with being a mother.
I know.
Could cry at the drop of the dime.
I know.
At the beach, she's
my eyes
running
are
and, like-
watering right now. I'm literally.
She's so free. Look at her go.
She's frolicking in the sand.
my eyes are watering now thinking about it.
I know.
Oh my God, I love her so much.
And see, you know what was like the greatest gift for me in being a mom? I feel like it healed when you stay open to it, because motherhood is also one of the most triggering experiences you will ever have in your life.
Say it
Like,
again.
you feel judged by your child. Like, you know, like if your kid is mad at you or doesn't want kisses, it's me. What's wrong with me?
You feel judged by yourself.
You feel judged by
You
yourself.
feel judged by your own parents.
Yes, the guilt, you know, it's like
Oh, God.
everyone is running to check on you if you're pregnant, and then the second the baby is
They're
here,
like-
my organs are still all over the place.
You're like,
I'm
but you're doing it
exhausted.
wrong. And you're still doing it wrong.
And they're like, oh, but how's the baby? Why aren't you doing more for the baby?
Wait, where is she? You're where and she's where? Why aren't you together? Like,
It is so, it's, oh God, so many things. But too, it's like my child looks exactly like me, right? Like my son, we have the exact
stole your
same
face.
face.
Stole your face.
Stole my whole face. And it's interesting because through loving him, especially as a newborn, I was able to love myself more deeply. Like, it really brought forward for me any like dormant againstness I had for myself. Any feelings of not being in full acceptance of myself bounced off him. It's like even the small things that we might see in our faces and be like, oh, I don't like that about me. I see it in his face and I'm like, this is the most gorgeous thing I've ever seen. So I'm like, I need to be reflecting this same kind of energy back to myself. I have to love me the same way that I love him.
Yeah. No, I love that. It's so true. It does tap into those dormant parts of yourself that
Oh my
like
God.
you are like maybe ignored or maybe didn't even realize were there. And you're like, oh shit, yeah, that's not healed.
It also gives you the opportunity, like I've said this before, but when you would do anything for your child and, you know, they mess up or they fall down and you encourage them and you're there to their every, you know, beck and call. And then it dawned on me, like, I have to mother myself. I have to attend to myself the way I attend to my child and like be as gracious and as gentle and like, you're going to fall down and you're going to get back up and that's okay. And I think it's easy to apply that to when you're mothering a child because we're innately, we know to do that, hopefully, but we forget to do that for ourselves and then we beat ourselves up so much and it's like a lot of us are just children. I feel like I'm a child all the time. I'm like, who the fuck gave me a human? I'm scared. I'm like, oh no, just to eat. You know, still, she's 6 and I'm still like, that's my daughter. I'm like, that's my daughter. That's my daughter. That's my daughter.
Like practicing
Yeah, I'm
it.
like, I'm a mother. That's my daughter.
Oh my God, that sounds like us talking about boyfriends.
Oh yeah.
We're like, I have a boyfriend.
We have a
Boyfriend. We don't have boyfriends anymore, but
that one time when we did got
together
really
at
strange.
the same time because that's how aligned we are. Got boyfriends at the same time, pretty much broke up at the same time. It was like we had to practice saying that. I feel like that sometimes with Irie. I mean, I don't feel like I obviously know I have a child and she's mine, but sometimes I look at her and I'm like, how are we here? We're here? We still here? We're good?
I'm not a teenager?
Like, what? Yeah. And I think about like my younger self and I was so adamant about never having kids. Like I was
Really?
I did not want kids at all. And it's so funny. I was having this conversation with my brother because he was judging my parenting. And he was like, that's because you're too this and that. With
Which
Irie."
brother?
My 21-year-old brother.
Oh, of course, the one with no children. No.
Neither one of my brothers
No,
have children.
right, no experience in it.
Yeah. And he was talking, it was her eating habits, because my daughter's eating habits, oh my God, they're just very annoying. She's just very
Erica's
particular.
ashamed.
She's very particular. We're making tiny progress, okay? But she had turkey pasta the other day. She didn't know it was in there, but she liked it, and she ate it. But he was just like, you're too this, you're too that. And I was like, one day when you have kids, you'll understand, okay? And he was like, I'm not having kids. I was like, And that's what I said. And he's like, no, for real. And I was like, no, for real? That's what I said. Like, with that gusto behind it, too. Like, hell no. And now having one, obviously, I couldn't imagine not having one. And it just totally shifts so much in you and makes you have to tap into yourself. And I think that's what, I don't know if we wanted to do the tarot or we can do it at the end, but I think this is a good segue into what I wanted to talk to you about, which was healing your inner child.
Yeah.
And how important it is and how it can be a lifelong journey. I don't know if there's just like this one switch that like just turns on and suddenly like all the traumas or all the things that you've encountered as a child are just, they're healed.
Yeah.
But it's something that I think it's important to tap into and check in on often. Mm-hmm. And I was listening to your episode about meeting your inner child. And I was listening and totally connected to when you were saying that, like, you're the strong friend.
Yeah.
And that people lean on you, and, you know, you started valuing yourself by how much you could take.
Oh my
How
God.
much hurt you could take.
Yeah.
How much
Yeah.
pain.
And I was like, oh my God, like, we do that. I mean, not just the strong friend, but like
I feel
women,
like women,
in
yeah,
general.
like, it's fine. It's fine. I'm okay.
You know what? Like, you know what I think about all the time when it comes to that? It's like, who was the first man that hated women, and how did he train everyone else to his ways?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, what was the shift? Because women were always at the forefront of society and the forefront of households. We were the healers. We were the leaders. And then at some point, things shifted. And then all books were written with women in a diminished role or not mentioned at all, you know, and all of a sudden women became these catch-alls.
There has to be some research done.
There's got to be a trail back to this nigga, okay? Because
Right.
I need to
Somebody
know.
broke this nigga's heart, and it's the world has never been the same since.
Look,
Oh my God.
Who the fuck
we can start a Facebook group.
Alexander
Find
Gilman.
him.
Who was it? Who was it? Who the fuck did it?
Yo, I think about it all the time because, like, even in the little things, like, and I'm one of those people that will, like, have an idea and then be, like, so committed to it and go down all the rabbit holes. But it's, like, little things, right? Like when even we think of, like, in Christianity, how Mary Magdalene is referred to. We're supposed to believe that she was a prostitute. That was never written or mentioned. She was one of Christ's disciples, you know, and
Well,
it's
where did
like
that come from?
in the 600s or I think it was like the early 1600s, one of the popes was giving an address and put one line in it that referred to her as like a woman of the night. Unsubstantiated. It was never in recorded history that this was truth. And then the men of the world ran with it. And ever since, that's been part of the belief system that that's who she was. It was like one guy started a rumor about a woman, and then
Okay, well, we got that.
billions
We
of
found
people.
him. So
Right,
now we got to
right.
track it back.
go backwards.
Wow, I had
Yeah.
no idea. That's so interesting.
But it's like we think
not
about
shocking,
the role.
actually.
Yeah.
I think there's a root of a lot of evil is at the root of a hurt man.
Oh my gosh.
There's a lot of evil that exists
And then
right
we
now
all
today.
get saddled with this idea of martyrdom being the basis of our value system, you know, and it's like martyrdom is always self-sacrificing. It's never allowing help. It's taking pride in all of the ways in which you are, you know, considered really considered just a tool in service to everyone else, you know, and it's like that somehow became the fabric of what the family structure in this country was supposed to look like, what women were supposed to look like. And it's like, nah, not no more. Mm-hmm. I'm not taking on any of that mess. Like, my love for myself comes first.
Yes, no, I totally agree. And I do feel like there's like, I mean, I feel like throughout history, there have been times where there's been like this renaissance happening, right? And I feel like right now there's a Black renaissance happening. There's also like a renaissance of like female energy coming together and feeling more empowered and being able to say, no, I don't believe that history, actually, sir. That doesn't sound about right.
I rebuke you. Thank you.
I'm good. That doesn't work for me. That's very off-brand for me.
That sounds about Pope the Sixth to me. I don't
Right.
know.
I'm going to do some research and get back to you. Oh my goodness. It's true. I've been talking to this guy who's like has a lot of rules. And recently he was trying to like really, really justify why he should be able to like have a main woman and a wife and like also have concubines and like women on the side, but like
bless his heart.
But his wife should not, you know. And I was just like, he was going into science, saying there's more women than there are men, and like all these things. And I was just like, I respect that for you, and that sounds really good for you. I don't know if you'll ever find anyone who's going to be cool with those rules. I mean, I hear your science and all, but it just doesn't. It's just not on brand for me.
Yeah, like
I'm
what's
like,
in it for her?
If I don't have concubines too, it's just not the basic fairness in it all just doesn't add up. Like 1 + 1 just equals 2.
Sounds a little sexist.
Sounds a little stupid. But it's just, I mean, I know that works for some people, and I'm not, I appreciate anybody who knows what they want. But I'm at the place finally in my life, hopefully forever, but that's not what I want. And you're cool, and that's cool for you. And if you find someone who's aligned in that, great. but it's not me, like, and I'm cool being cool here, and we can stay here, but anything further, the concubines down the line is not going to work out. But for so long, women just be like, okay, whatever, you're going to love me, you're going to take me, you're going to provide. Okay. No, there will be no more meek ass okays. And like, it's okay to submit, but if it doesn't align for you, that's okay too.
Yeah. It's okay to search yourself for what feels like the right thing for you and not be dictated to. Like, this is our one life as this version of ourselves. I've been here a million times, but this is my one life as this person, you know? And it's like, that's the thing that I think is the most ridiculous of what we were robbed of. Is the understanding that we always have choice. As women, we always have choice, and we have been trained and forced and pushed to believe that we're supposed to be waiting around to be chosen. And it's like, no, I do the choosing. I do the choosing. I choose who I want. I also choose what my circumstance is going to be. And at any moment, we can make another choice. There's never such a thing as like truly missed opportunity or missed ability to change your life. In every moment, there is choice. There'll be the parameters that come with that, which sometimes can be quite challenging, but you always have the chance to recreate your life or recreate your partnership or recreate your parenthood.
Yes, I agree. There's never I think sometimes even women, they're like, who are maybe like in their 50s or in their late 40s, or kids or teenagers, they're like, it's too late for me. And it's absolutely not. It's not too late. It's never too late. I don't care how old you are. There's always a time to check in with yourself and change the trajectory of your life, or change your views, or heal from your childhood. Or
I feel like almost like attaching to something too deeply with, like, I think that's the issue. We attach to our beliefs even, and then we feel a responsibility to
keeping them up.
To keep them up, to always be that way, to always agree with them, to withhold, like, I'm a Christian, I can't ever fucking be a Jew, like, I'm a this.
Well, you could.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh,
People have so much attachment to their beliefs that almost there's like a sense of embarrassment if you want to fucking change your mind. But guess what? You can change your mind. You can wake up every day and change your mind, no matter what it is. In love, in life, in parenthood, if it doesn't work for you, if it no longer serves you, you could peace out quickly. There's no obligation to always believe one thing, to always be one way. We are, in fact, like, if you don't change, if you don't evolve, if you're not growing, you can't expect to be the same person who believes and feels the same way forever. I mean, catch me next week. I might be a wife with 3 concubines. Who knows? I doubt that, but you know what I mean? It just, like, we have such an attachment of, as women, what we're supposed to look like and fit so pretty into this perfect box, and what that looks like. And sometimes that makes us lose a great sense of who we are. Yeah. And it could look different from woman to woman. Like, me and Erica are crazy together, but we're also very different, And I want to celebrate the differences and the change and the evolution and the growth, because I don't think women have had the opportunity to be in celebration of that enough.
Yeah. I mean, we're the more powerful species.
Obviously.
It's like in many ways, and I think that's really the greatest lie ever told. And that's probably why that first man, whoever he is, like, what would his name even be? Like
asshole.
That's probably why he turned everybody against us back in the day, know, but it's like, we have to remember our personal power. And that has been the greatest tool of manipulation of women through history, is leading women to believe that we are meek, leading women to believe that we are in need of being led and that we're not the leaders.
Mm-hmm. And that narrative starts so early.
So, obviously, yes, that is an amazing time for women and us feeling more empowered, and Tracy back from Pope Six beyond. But like, as far as like, healing your inner child, I think some people I think feel healed, right?
Yeah.
But as an outsider looking, I know I've met people, they're like, I'm good, I'm healed, I healed from that. And I'm like, oh, honey, I don't know you did.
Yeah.
Maybe even including myself. I feel like sometimes I feel like I've healed from things, and then it takes something, a triggering moment, for me to be like, oh shit, So what do you think are some signs that maybe you have some inner healing and child inner healing to go through?
I think in that, like, that's such a beautiful point about this, like, idea of, like, are we fully healed? Because what I think it really is in every moment, there's opportunity to deepen the healing, and it's like, it's so important to not look at it as, like, oh, why am I getting so bothered by this? Like, I spent so much time, I thought I was healed. And it's like, you are, and you were, and you did diligent, beautiful work, which arrived you at this moment. The opportunity to get to an even deeper layer that is clearing you and cleansing you and giving you more personal power. It's like some of the stuff that we are working through is very literally our life's curriculum. So many of the situations that for us are like the deepest traumas or like the repeated patterns, it's there because that is actually the curriculum we signed up to know and to learn on, I believe, this adventure on earth that we chose to have. So there's always more healing available.
Right.
And I think anybody that stands in a space of againstness, like, no, I'm not willing to talk about that because I already healed it, that shows that there's charge, and I think the way to investigate where your wounds are to see, what do I have charge about? What am I avoiding even in the tiniest ways, and it's like the biggest gift is just being able to dive into it. Like, I get so excited when I have more shadow work to do. Like if I find myself crying about something, I'll be like, oh, there's a gift in this for me. Okay, let's sit in it, like I get
that's a beautiful way to look at
excited.
it. Yeah.
Because it's like, it wouldn't be there if I didn't need to look at it. So how much time do I want to waste? Right? When it comes up, do I want to try to run from it? So the more I do that, the more it stays with me, right? Versus, all right, you popped up for a reason, divine timing, let me sit down, let me look at this, let me explore it, let me think about it. And then once you decide to dive into it, it's so easy to dissolve. But I definitely think if we're, the way that inner child wounding shows up is really everything, like it's really everything, any level of toxicity in your life, any way that shows itself. Typically, there's always a pathway and a trail that leads back to a very specific moment in childhood. And the reason that really those like inner child wounds sometimes are so deep and so hard to look at is because they really usually revolve around us in our most vulnerable space as a child, and then we take on judgment for how we responded as a child. And so it's like we're looking back at that same wounding with child eyes and child relatability and child charge inside of ourselves, instead of saying, you know what, in this moment I am a woman, I'm a grown woman. So let me look back on those childhood wounds through the lens of this adult who now better understands life. Like our wounding in childhood really stems from lack of experience and us attributing meaning to the things that happened to us with a very limited language and a very limited understanding of the world. So when we're coming in to repair and to heal and dissolve, we have to come to it with the rational understanding of, this happened. I was a kid. I interpreted it as this, which then lent itself to me layering more and more on top of it. Or this stemmed from my parent. A lot of wounding comes from our parents or the adults in our lives. And the reason it feels so hard to heal is because our parents are our first God. Like our family structure is our earth. We don't know that there's more world available to us. We definitely don't know how it works. So if we feel this conflict about our parents, it's almost like we're in conflict with God because we're still looking at them through that lens. And so like being able to shed that is also, and I know this can feel really tender for people depending on what your parental experience was. There is a multitude of ways that, people experience like deep hardship and the things that feel unmentionable about our lives sometimes at the hands of our parents. But it's really important that we're investigating that wounding or that timeline to do it from the space of an adult who is now equipped with more emotional language, is more equipped with like, what are the processes of being an adult? Things that, sometimes we take personally as kids. It's like when we become adults, you're like, oh yeah, it wasn't because I wasn't wanted or neglected. Like my mom had to go to work, or this happened or this circumstance. Adult life is complicated and the circumstance lent itself to me feeling like this. But if I look at it from the lens of what is true from an adult perspective, does it still have to hurt me? Is there opportunity for me to re-experience it, apply my understanding of now, and give it some grace and give it some healing?
Oh my God, that's so important. And I never even really looked at it that way, as like putting Erica as an adult in those adults, like, and looking at it like, is that really what happened? Or like, it's so crazy too, because even today I was met with something that was really triggering for me. And it is, and I'm just listening to you now, I realize I correlated the two, is that I was triggered today because there is a healing that has to happen for me amongst me and like my stepfather, who like, and for me, and it's rooted in my relationship with my father, who me and my father didn't really have a relationship, and he didn't show up for me in that way. And it's different now, but we're more so friends than we are like fatherly, daughterly.
Yeah.
And my stepdad never really took on the role of being my father, really. I think he didn't want to, like, he didn't know how to do it, because, and as a child, I was angry about that and upset by that and felt like, well, you should have tried harder. Who cares if I said you're not my dad? Like, you should have tried harder.
Yeah, I'm a child.
And today, like, we had an interaction that really triggered me, that irritated me, and it felt like he wasn't showing up for me again. And I was like, and it triggered me because my dad didn't show up for me, and like, you're supposed to be my other dad, like, and so today, I for the first time ever, I messaged him and I was like, we should probably talk. And like, I know that he'll never do that. Like, he'll never reach out to me. So like, as an adult, I'm the child, but I'm an adult now.
Yeah.
And like, I don't want to have that experience anymore. I don't want to keep repeating this feeling, because sometimes we're like in great spirits together, and then other times I'm like, what happened? Like, did I do something? Like, why are we here? Like, what's going on? And it felt good to like, it did feel good, because I was feeling a lot of anxiety today. I was angry, and then I was like, I just need to like talk to him. Why don't I just talk to him? Because I wanted my dad to talk to me, and he kind of did, but not really. I wanted him to talk to me, and he's not.
Yeah.
But I'm an adult, so I can go to him, and I can heal that part of me.
Yeah.
And even put myself as an adult in the shoes of myself then, and our interaction then, and try to understand why he did some of the things that he did.
Yeah.
And I'm just now, I mean, obviously it's today, it's like day one of embarking on this journey, hopefully with him, and like healing that. And hopefully it'll help heal parts of my relationship with my own father too.
Yeah.
But being able to like be adult about it is something that you just said that I didn't even realize I kind of applied today. So it's, first of all, like, alignment is so real. I'm so glad you're here right now. I feel like I'm going to cry, because I'm just like, wow, like, it's been like a long time coming in my relationship with the men in my life, because I haven't always felt safe, and I haven't always felt like I could depend on them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it doesn't have to be that way. Sometimes it's just a conversation that has to happen. So he feels like he's given permission to show up for me that way.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
And you know what? And it's so, like, one, I just like really prize you for doing that, because it's so challenging. Like, that's so challenging, because it also feels, there's a piece of you that feels like, why do I got to be the one to do this? Like,
that's kind of like the stance I've always taken.
Yeah,
and it's like, well, that's not serving me. It's
but
hurting me.
This is so powerful. Like, this is the stance of like a really powerful awakened person. And it's like, remembering our personal power is so important, because we find ourselves, and this is just biologically how it works, how like the programming of our brain and our hearts really operates. With certain people, we will fall into a role that is not actually who we are or how we show up in the world. And that is especially true when it comes to family and family enmeshment. Like, it's like, you could be killing it in a boardroom, you could be leading in all these ways, but you get home and it's like, oh, yes, sir, or okay, or no one listens to me, or, and it's like, it's always beautiful opportunity for us to continue to anchor in the truth of who we are in this moment. I think, like, I definitely have two thoughts around what you said. A piece that's powerful but really challenging, and it takes a lot of practice. So anybody listening, it's okay if you don't get it the first try, the second, third. Like, it'll come with the practice. But as frustrating as it feels, especially if we've been wounded by the adults that knew us as children, it's so important to realize, like, adults are flawed, like, which we know now. Like, we think about our friends and their wounding. We think about our wounding. Like, adults are highly problematic, but we were children and we were viewing them as safety. We were also trained to view them as that by television, by film. Like, every American ideal for family structure was built around this, you know, 2-parent household, 2 parents, and you were made in love, and, you know, they wanted to have you, and then they raised you and always put you at the forefront, and they had a college plan available to you, and the mom was on the PTA, and the father provided, and we have this
it's their job
white
to keep
picket
us
fence,
safe.
And if they
keep
weren't
us safe, and they unconditionally love us. Well, newsflash, that is not true for 98% of people living. But there are these like unicorns that have been crafted as the legend for which our family structure, it's created this comparable ideal forever. And it's not true for any of us. Like, it really isn't. And when we give ourselves that freedom that almost none of us, you know, had that experience, it frees our hearts so deeply, because it's the comparison that hurts. When we settle into the what is, this is the parent I was given. There is spiritual curriculum to that. What do I need to know about this? How is this meant to actually be a gift to me? You know, and it's hard because sometimes those gifts are so painful, you know, and also a piece of it we don't speak to enough as adults now that we're in these mental health conversations. So many adults from our childhoods have personality disorders. They have undiagnosed mental illness or personality disorders or complex post-traumatic stress or PTSD. They were barely surviving the things that happened to them. But they didn't have the language, and they didn't have the resources that so many of us have now. It's like, there are books now. There are groups now. I can open my Instagram. Like, it cracks me up when I open Instagram on some of these psychology pages I follow. Because I'm like, I spent $3,000 on that breakthrough over 5 years. And today I get to scroll it and get the truth so simply. Like, we have things and we're having conversations that our parents never got to have either, you know? And when we go down that, like, family tree, it's like so many of our parents were in deep pain and survived abuse. And for them, for some of them, you know, it's like something we say right now that I said a lot that I had to really get more humble about was like, oh, I'm breaking the chains. I'm the ancestral freedom for my lineage. Like, you know, I am the person that came to earth at this time to heal my whole family line. And I think everyone thought they were doing that. You know, like some of the things that I have againstness about with my upbringing, it was literally 100 times better than how my mom was raised, you know? And it's like, so for her, there was so much honor and so much thoughtfulness in what she thought was the parenting she never got. But to me, that parenting still felt flawed, you know? And it's like, it's because we're each coming here with our individual recipe of what our needs are. And people aren't always
That
able
also makes
to
me
fill
so
it.
scared to be a parent.
I know.
That also makes me so scared because I am. I feel like I'm showing her all these new things. And what if she grows up and it's like, not enough, Mom?
I mean, she will. I
she
hate
will.
I hate to break it to you.
I
I
know.
think that's the thing. Is like it is unavoidable to fuck up. It's
Yeah.
I mean, it is like, we're not perfect. This is not perfect. And I think like there's no instruction book when you're handed a baby. It's almost like it's the most shocking shit you'll ever do. Like you said, you're pregnant, everyone's so nice to you, and then they send your ass home and you're like, help, you know? And I just feel like, and it's something I'm sure we've all had to deal with. Like, you're about to come to tears talking about a conversation you had with your stepdad. And it just reminds me, like, there's been a lot of pivotal points in my adulthood where I had to like look at myself and look at my parents and accept that they are just people. They are children. They're healing, they're working through it, and like had to really come to that anger and that frustration and that sadness, that shit, you know, like there would be times I would just get in a conversation, they want to talk to me and I want to cry. I'm like, bitch, you're 30 years old. Why are you about to cry? Because it's such a sensitive topic.
And it's unhealed.
It's unhealed because it's so easy to just be that teenage, hurt, wounded, not heard girl again, you know, and to be pissed and frustrated and like fuck, you should know this.
Yeah.
Like, you're fucking up. You know, you're talking shit to me, but you're fucking up, because I feel like that, you know what I mean? And just having the grace to say, oh my God, like, my mom is just a child. She's just a little girl. She's still figuring it out. She's still so hurt. You know, like, she's blamed things like, because she misses her mom. Like, she's a human person, you know, and it's taken a lot of those conversations with myself, even in like my adulthood and evolving and trying to grow, and then looking at my parents and like, oh my God, you guys are fucking teenagers. But I think a part of it is like, we have to accept that there's no part of our parenting that's perfect. We are imperfect people. So,
and it's by design.
Right, because
like
you said, I loved what you said about the curriculum of life.
Yeah.
Every fucking single experience, every interaction, every relationship, including family, is a part of the curriculum of life. Like, I do believe that we choose our parents, and I know like some people don't want to hear that, but there are lessons in that, those relationships closest to you that you have to heal and learn and figure out. And I'm still figuring it out, you know, accepting people and like my parents as who they are. And I think one of the biggest things I've tried to apply, because Lord knows I may not be doing this parenting thing completely right, because I'm a little crazy, but like, it's just letting my daughter see me vulnerable, letting her know like I don't have all the answers, like letting her know I messed up. I'm sad. Like the other day I cried, and she's right here. I cried in front of Luna, and she was like, "Why are you crying?" And I was like, "I don't know. I don't know. Just hug me. Hug me." You know what I mean? But like, I've seen my mom cry, and there were things, but just sometimes it just takes being vocal and being vulnerable. And even if your kid is 6, you know, and I think our parents thought that was deeply traumatizing, to not let your kid know that you didn't have everything all together. Yeah. It was like, everything's fine. Everything's fine. The bills are paid. I'm so happy. You're like, no, you're not. You're about to lose your shit.
And everybody was so hyper vigilant, because even that is such a layered experience. It's like, for us, it would be like, why, Mom, were you not just more vulnerable with me? And then it's like, for a mom of that generation, especially a woman of color, you were pushed into this unwanted role of forced resilience all the time. Like, society didn't give a shit about what you were walking through. So you probably not only didn't even vocalize it outside of yourself to anyone, because you knew it wouldn't matter and when it changed, but you didn't even vocalize it to yourself. So the ability to be vulnerable is not even a possibility.
It's not even, you don't even recognize it in yourself, let alone expressing it to someone else. And I experience that now, like, oh, Erica, like, you're not okay. I'm like, maybe you're right. You know, like, you don't even realize that you're not okay until you've given yourself the grace to say it to yourself out loud.
Yeah.
You know, and that's such a powerful thing. Like in exploring the inner child, is like, first you have to identify that those wounds even exist, and then you have to dig back into your deep subconscious about exactly the moment and experiences and interactions that you've had that contributed to how you act out in adulthood. Because I was listening to your podcast. I've experienced a lot of ways, like drinking. You know, I've spent a lot of my 20s and now like excessively drinking, or like unnecessary sex and unnecessary relationships and toxic love, and just feeling comforted by that toxicity because I'm actively avoiding dealing with my fucking self, you know, because that hurts too much.
Well, and if toxicity is our normal, we're just craving home, you know, like we're just craving that same dynamic that we were so used to, and that was the foundation of our being. So it's like, even sometimes when we want more for ourselves, we continue these loops and these patterns, because that is what was illustrated as safety to us.
Trauma, you know? Bonds. I just really learned that like the last few years, because I was backstepping with my BD.
Luna,
go play. Bye. Go. All of my business. And backstepping, and then like just these toxic cycles of such pain. But I was literally putting myself in the position, actively raising my hand to get there. And it's like, it took me a long time to realize, like, and I would even notice when things would start to feel panicked in my regular life, even if they were already like high stressed, I would seek that, even though if it would heighten the discomfort, my sadness. But I saw that with my parents. I saw my parents have toxic relationships my entire life, yelling and screaming and acting crazy and coming and going. And so I saw myself attached to that in my adulthood, and in ways that the relationships mirrored so much, it scared the shit out of me, you know? But I was actively doing it to myself and then getting so mad at myself because A, I know the results, B, you keep doing it, B, you keep doing it, you keep doing it, you keep doing it, and then finding some weird, sick comfort in it. Yeah. And then even to the point where my closest friends were like, there's something wrong with you, we're concerned, you're sick, like, and then I, like we're really concerned because you keep saying this and doing that, and I was getting so fucking mad because I know that. And I was telling him, like, you don't think I know? You know, like, do you think it's that easy? And like, and actively finding the words to try and like justify it, but not, and then trying to explain to my friends who I've known a long time, like, you don't think I know, you don't think I'm working on it, and like, I don't need this shit from you right now, you know? But it's a crazy realization of self to be like, I'm inflicting pain on myself because it's comforting to me.
Well, it's like nostalgia, right? Like we like get excited when we hear a 90s R&B record or something because it puts us into that place, and that's nostalgia with like an upbeat flavor. It's like, oh my God, they don't make music like this anymore. This is my jam. But it's the same thing with some of our toxic family traits. It's like you have a longing for it sometimes. You know, it really, there is this nostalgia of wanting to recreate what you knew as a child. And it's like in moments like that, you know, part of like the reparenting dynamic that's so important, like reparenting yourself is treating yourself how you wish you were treated as a child. It's talking to yourself with kindness. And so often when we're feeling frustrated with ourselves from like where we're at with growth, it's like, come on, get it together. You know better. Like, come on. And it's like, you have to do the opposite to you anytime you feel like you're recreating chaos or you're finding yourself in crisis. It's literally about like, oh, baby, you're hurting. Take a breath. Imagining yourself as a child. Like, speak to yourself the way you would any 3-year-old on the street. Not even your own child. If I see any 3-year-old on the street, I'm like, oh, look at the baby. You know, and I'm like, hi, oh gosh, you're so smart. Hi, beautiful. Like, it's giving yourself that same kind of nourishment and parental guidance to that little you that's still inside. And, you know, that's how we heal. It's through the kindness, it's through the grace, it's through the patience with ourselves as a child. And it's not through the get it together, you should know this. Come on, all right, like go to therapy, talk, da-da-da-da-da. It's like,
Hurry
it's
up.
the tenderness, it's the slowness. And if it takes your whole life, that's okay. That's all we're here for anyway.
Right.
We're just here to experience and to learn and to grow and transcend. So if you need to take your time, take it, but do it with tenderness.
When I was listening to your podcast, you had mentioned that, first of all, you said something that was, or I guess you had asked a therapist or someone you were speaking with, you'd said, why is like finding wholeness the fight of our life in adulthood?
Girl.
Like, why is finding wholeness the fight of our life in our adulthood? And I told Milah, I was like, oh my God, is that what our whole podcast is about? Is like finding our wholeness? And I was like, kind of. And it does feel like, oftentimes it does feel like the fight of your life.
Yeah.
And I think she said a child has to blame or else she'll go insane.
Oh my God. That was like, what?
Yeah. And I was like, dang. When you said that, a child has to blame or else she'll go insane, I was like, wow. And now having a child and her always, like, when something goes wrong, you, like, she did it, you did it, you did it. And I'm like, girl, just relax, you're not in trouble. You're not in trouble. Like, why are we blaming someone right now?
Yeah.
I thought that was so interesting.
It's so like, and it's also so sad, you know?
Yeah, no, it is. It is.
Yeah. You know, you know, off and on, I've gone to therapy over the years. I do think like cognitive therapy is phenomenal and it gives you language and it gives you structure to your experience, but we have to add in like somatic experiencing to really be in the healing or to like dissolve the trauma. We have to love the trauma. We can't just give it language and understand, oh, I act this way because this happened to me. It's like, okay, now that I can understand that, how can I bring that intellectualization down into my heart so I can actually live as the person I want to be, that I really am. And so sometimes, like, I have this one phenomenal psychologist. Sometimes I just, so I do a lot of healing work on myself, but I also do a lot of healing education for myself. Like over the last 10 years, I've probably gotten like an Ivy League education in different healing modalities. So sometimes I'm like the weirdo that books time with a leading psychologist to ask them questions that aren't necessarily about me, but I'll be like, how does this work in the brain? Or why does this happen? Or why do kids do this? I'm really, really freaking curious. So when I study trauma and I study the barriers that we put up against our own healing, the common denominator for all of us is this underlying feeling of being unworthy or being worthless. That is where I feel that 100% of all of our trauma really sinks into. And also experiences lend itself to that. Certain experiences happen that we interpret as being judgments against us or wrongness about us. So I was asking her, I said, why is it that everything always comes down to us not really thinking we're worthy or us really loving ourselves? And she said, when you're a kid, she said this phrase to me that you shared, that Jess, like, it rocked my soul. It was, well, a child has to blame or else it will go insane. And she said, biologically, neurologically, the way your mind works as a young person is that, like, you don't have context for anything. You don't have language for hardly anything, and you don't have life experience. And so everything about our experience is crafted by how we understand our caregivers. Mm-hmm. So if our caregivers, who we now come to understand as adults, are these problematic, flawed adults like we are and like we know.
Oh my God, I can't wait to call my mom problematic. She's going to be pissed. Mom, you were a problematic caregiver. You did your best. I love you. You did great.
It was problematic.
But Devi said that.
Okay, no, don't say that. Don't say that.
Dad.
It's problematic.
Stepfather.
Please don't withhold beauty
when I go talk to my stepfather. So listen, I know
relationship.
You were a problematic adult,
and I am too.
And also, you were a wounded child,
right?
Too, like you were a wounded child, and you wounded me, mm-hmm. and that's what it is. But the process of like a child blaming, or it will go insane, is really found in that the way a child processes, it has to give meaning. Because it's craving to understand its experience. It's craving to build its structures. And so for a young person, it's not even conceivable to you that the problem is your parent, or the problem is your family system, or the problem is your home. If that were to occur to you, it would put you into a fight or flight that is not survivable. Like if your parent is God, if your home is really your earth and something is wrong with that, and you're also very clear that you cannot care for yourself, if you were to find fault in that system, it would send you spiraling. Who would care for you as a kid? You would probably give yourself a heart attack from being in fight or flight constantly. So you have to think it's you. You have to think that it's something wrong with you, and then you commit yourself to this path of being better, of earning love, of, trying to get the attention or trying to get into a safe space with your parents or with your family so that you can feel the love, so that you can feel safe, which then leads you usually on this lifetime journey of, on the far end of the spectrum, either becoming a sociopath and full-on narcissist, or becoming a really committed people pleaser.
People pleaser. I was going to say that sounds like the recipe for a people pleaser.
Who's in fear of losing love, who's in fear of losing safety, who's in fear of losing self. And, either side of that is not necessarily anyone's fault, but they are interesting things to look at as we heal ourselves. What is me and what is like this false programming that I can let go of?
Like defense mechanisms almost that we've become accustomed to and innate to, that like if certain reactions in adulthood start to make you react different ways. There was something else you said, because I think everyone has childhood trauma. There's no one's fucking missing it, but I think, and it's hard, you think about your entire childhood and it's hard to go like pinpoint certain moments. It almost takes you like kind of like really getting into that space and really committing to deep diving into your memory about what you remember, conversations, all those experiences. Because I think also with children and with childhood is I know I have been able to block things out. It's like our response to trauma is like, I can forget some shit quickly. Like, don't mention it again. I'm going to forget now, okay? But like actual tangible tools and ways to go and start the process. So a friend of mine told me recently, like, getting into fetal position and like thinking of those things. And then I know I heard in your podcast about like pulling up a picture of you in a certain age that you weren't comfortable with. And it's so funny that you said that, because I was scrolling through my phone like last night or the other night, and you know, the phone be having like years and years of shit you didn't ask for. And I was just like scrolling. I was like, huh, wow. Things have changed, thank God. But, you know, like all these pictures were kind of triggering of like places I was, like in certain relationships, how I was feeling in those times.
Literally, Facebook memories is the worst thing Facebook ever did to humanity.
I mean, and now the phone just does it.
They're good.
Now, have you noticed that iPhones are now just reminding you of shit?
They'll create a whole
album that you
didn't
fucking ask for.
I'm like,
that
really?
is so funny.
I'm like, I see me and my baby daddy on the beach. I'm like, nobody asked for this shit. Fucking asked for this goddamn memory. I was there, nigga. I didn't need this. I took the picture. Don't be pulling shit up I didn't ask for, Siri. Yo, Siri.
Shut the fuck up.
Cut the shit. The fuck? But it just you know, even childhood, this last year, bitch, I was looking at pictures from the 2020. I was like, I'm a whole different person.
Yeah.
I've come so far. Wow, you know what I mean? But just like giving yourself permission to dig and dive into those places. Like, I don't think sometimes we have the tools to where to begin. It's so hurtful. It hurts so bad.
Yeah.
I've locked those doors. I've cemented it. Like,
so what are some tools, like some beginner step tools for people that are like, I don't even know where to start with this healing?
Yeah. Love it. It's actually so simple, but it takes practice to feel comfortable with it. It's really being able to look at the work you need to do with joyful curiosity, or at least like deep interest. You know, it's like when something comes up for me now, like if there's a piece of shadow work that I have to do, it's really about like, oh, what is this? Why do I feel that right now? Am I jealous? Am I angry? What has charged? Why does it feel that way? Instead of like, oh, I'm so angry right now, or God, you know, like people always do this and I'm just so, instead of leaning into that as the way that you're processing what you're feeling, coming into it from more of a neutral space allows there to be like rapid fire healing. Like, I can't even stress that enough. Like, the healing comes so fast when you come more into a space of neutrality about your journey and come more into a space of just like really deep interest and curiosity, as if you were walking a dear friend through their process, you know, like, well, what comes up for you when you say that? Or, you know, what did something happen that lent itself to that? Like, you're in the role of like journalists, and women, we are natural, inherent psychologists, journalists, and detectives.
Sure.
Yet we don't apply that same ability that is a refined skill. We don't apply that to our own process of self. And it's like, if we gave it that same level of diligence, that same level of like creative introspection, and that same curiosity, like we can free ourselves so much faster with ease and joy. Like, healing does not have to come through all of the nights on your knees and tears, or the yelling into your pillow, or the taking the drives. Like, healing can come through the tiny moments, the twinkle of an eye, the joy, the self-inquiry question. You know, it can come through the one time that you decide to say no, and then that starts to build up your ability to say it more and more when you want to, and really investigate. But it's the secret is the curiosity. Like, I treat myself with deep curiosity for my needs, for my joys. Like, what am I craving today? Like, what could I use to smile today? What would feel good for me? Okay, let me do that. To then, oh, wow, I feel really defeated today. Okay, what's coming up? What do I feel? Where in my body do I feel it? It's in my heart. Okay, that feels like grief. What am I experiencing right now? What's here? You know, and just being willing to be with yourself. And that's what we avoid. You know, I think we get through life without realizing all the tools of avoidance we have for ourselves. Like we avoid ourselves with a packed schedule. We avoid ourselves with friendships, with fun, with perceived happiness. Like we can turn anything into a tool of avoidance,
Ooh, girl.
Easy.
Say that shit again.
anything. And so it's so important to really create those moments where we're just with us. Like go stare at yourself in the eyes in the mirror with your face 2 inches away from the mirror. Light a candle and do that for a minute and see what happens, you know?
For real. For
like
real.
it's really
How uncomfortable do you get?
For real.
Yeah.
Eye contact, period, is some shit. It is really some shit, especially with yourself. It's crazy that you said that. I had an acting exercise with a stranger in an acting class randomly, and the exercise was for us to stare at each other in each other's eyes for 2 minutes. And I get awkward. I can someone can yell at me or tell me something sensitive, and I'll smirk. So I can avoid very easily. But this girl started to cry. And I was I embraced her, and I was like, God damn, that's, first of all, is this acting class or is this fucking therapy? Both. But second of all, damn. That is she saw me seeing her, and it made her very vulnerable.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes I will catch myself in the bathroom. I'll try and tell myself things, but I'm like, oh, wow, I haven't looked at you in a while. It's this deep.
And you know what you just said in the acting class, that's so beautiful, because in the mindfulness world, in retreating systems and workshops, what you did is actually a really powerful tool for meeting yourself, and it's called soul gazing. And so it's I've been at retreats before where I got in a line outside with 200 people, and we each spent a minute staring into each other's eyes, spent the whole afternoon.
What?
All walks of life. So you're seeing every kind of face and every kind of eye. And I remember the very first time I did it, I was I could see, every person I would look in their eye for that time span, I would literally just say to them, you are whole, you are worthy, with my mind. And I would extend that same feeling to myself. And, I've cried, or the people in front of me would cry, because we don't realize how often we're not even getting enough touch, let alone enough eye contact, especially now in quarantine. For those that have been inside or having really limited access to people, it's something like holding your friend's hand. Me and my best girlfriend, she came to hang out with me and my son for a few days, and she's whenever she comes over, we spend a few days together, which is rare. We're both busy, so we rarely get to do it. But when we do, it's let's have a sleepover for 3 days.
Right,
and she'll come over, spend time with the baby. We'll wake up, have coffee together. Sometimes her and I just sit on the couch and we'll hold hands watching something. You know what I mean? And it's that's my friend, really just my friend.
Right.
But, it's giving people you care about those moments of intimacy, that deepening, looking at someone in their eyes, that's such a gift for you and them.
And I think the longer we've been friends with people and the longer people are around us, we forget to do that.
Yeah.
Because I remember obviously, Erica and the closest people that ever existed in fucking human friendship. But in the beginning, me and Erica have only really been best friends for 3 years. But in the first year or two of our relationship, even now, because she wasn't my friend that I had been super comfortable with for years and years and years, she would just touch me and rub my shoulder and be like, you don't seem okay. And I would just jar me because I wasn't used to that, and you feel so close to people, but sometimes you get so close to people that you are not close. You forget to offer them the courtesy of just the things you would touch, of cuddling, of love, and just those little things of her reminding me, even when she apologizes to me, I'm like, oh, well, damn, were my feelings hurt? You know what I mean? They weren't, but maybe they were,
Yeah.
But because we forget that gentleness, we forget that, that kindness to the people we've known the longest, our moms, our parents,
I'm as a friend, I am a kissy, huggy, come here, give me your face.
Wait, what's your birthday? I feel like your birthday's close to mine. I just read this. June 19th?
My birthday is June 18th.
Yeah, okay. Mine's June 22nd.
Cancer?
So. She's on the
No,
cusp.
I'm a Gemini.
Or Gemini.
Yeah.
I'm a double Gemini with a Leo rising.
I'm a Leo rising too, but I think that Gemini cusp is crazy.
Oh, I love being a Leo rising.
Oh, okay. So I want to
All
ask
the
one more
things.
question. I know we've been talking a lot, but we had this question, and I don't know if you have any more questions.
Oh, I was going to actually ask that question.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have a question in our DMs for you, and
Do you want me to read it? Or?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Oh, I'm nervous.
Yeah, we had a question. Actually, this is from Tori, who I love.
I love you, yeah.
She's always...
She's like a young, cool ass, listening, smart,
Yeah,
artistic. Shout out to Tori.
Yeah, she's dope. She said, I'd love to hear her approach to breath work and how she ritualizes it throughout her day.
But before you start, I want to put my 2 cents, is that I recently went to Mexico. I told everyone, I'm going to tell everyone again. I was with like my hippie friends, and I was there.
What part of Mexico?
It was like right outside of Cabo, called Zacaritas.
Oh, okay.
No, not Zacaritas.
Todos Santos.
Todos, no, it
Todos
was
Santos?
I
love
Todos Santos, yeah.
Yes.
And we did acid. So all those things you were saying, like 1 drop of this, 1 drop of kindness, like 1 drop of acid heals everything. But a lot of it, like the first week of being there, they're just like cool, hippie, Burning Man people. And we're just doing a lot of like,
yeah.
A lot of moaning, a lot of looking at a lot of beautiful sightseeing, and just like a lot of touching, like
yeah,
a lot of body work and getting in my body. And I didn't know it was my jam, girl. I didn't know. I was just following the white people.
You were eating fruits.
I was eating fruits and moaning,
yes.
Seeing sunsets, waking up early. I was just like. Stretching naked, dancing naked around the house.
Yes.
Like we were having
that's my jam.
Energetic intimacy, just being comfortable, just being vulnerable, because I feel like we don't give ourselves the permission to do that a lot.
Yeah.
And so days later, when we did this acid trip and we put intention into the acid, I had this like life-changing experience. And so what I've taken from that is that experience, but very much, I don't give a fuck where I'm at and who I'm with. I'll be like fucking Uber, like,
yep.
Join me. You want to join? Yeah. Are you having a hard day? Don't worry.
Doesn't this feel pleasurable?
Yeah, I'm like, don't you feel good? And I get a lot of weird stares, but also I feel like there's obviously I have a podcast, so there's power and frequencies and voice. Like we put our words out, and those frequencies go forever until they bounce off of nothing, into the universe. So I just. Based on Tori's question, like what was the question again?
The question was, she'd love to hear your approach to breath work and how you ritualize it throughout your day.
You know what, for me, everything is literally sacred. Like every single thing about my day is a ritual or an offering to God in some way. Like I feel like I'm building a life for myself, that my life is the altar for God, And it's like with breath work, that is a piece of. It's just a natural piece of everything. Like I'm always stopping, much like you just described, to take a moment to breathe, to take a moment to center. Like yesterday I was on my work day is typically, and this is going to sound crazy considering I work in well-being, but my day is 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. every day, every single day without fail. And moms I know can definitely relate to that, and it's a lot. But I managed to get a lot of great solid sleep. And I was like, how am I functioning? And it's really because if I have 10 minutes of each hour, I'll use it for myself, and I'll go outside and I'll ground and I'll just focus on my breathing. And for me, like the hand placements that feel really good, it's like 1 over my heart chakra, 1 over my sacral, and just really taking time to like feel my heartbeat, connect to my womb, my creativity center, and just take that big deep breath in through your nose. And I usually do a lot of the slower breathing, or like the lion's breath, where you're taking in a big breath through, inhale through your nose, really big, filling your lungs like they're gorgeous balloons, just expanding, holding the breath for a moment, and then like letting it come out, and just doing that repeatedly, and really noticing myself in my body, and even like wiggling, and how do I feel and what feels good, and like letting your eyes kind of hang a little lower and go with the natural movements of your body. And then sometimes I like to like do one like deep journey a week. So like last night I did a 2-hour breathwork journey, and it was more intense. It was definitely the for 2 hours, and then like everything started tingling, and I might have like, levitated for a second. I don't even know what happened, but I went somewhere. Really, really fucking enjoy my own company. Like I am such a great friend to me. Like I really like having moments to just spend with myself and there not be any comparison, there not be any, like, I can honest to God find joy in absolutely anything and feel connected to it. So that's kind of the way that I use my practice throughout the day. But also, like, if I enter a room in my house, I light an incense. Before I walk into my office, I do a prayer in the room. I light an incense. I light certain candles. I call in, certain energies to just aid me. And that's a part of every single day and of every process. If I run myself a bath, I do Reiki over the water and like say a prayer that the water rejuvenates me, and then I get in. And it's like I feel like there's always opportunity to turn something into like a moment, not just for growth. Like we can't get too focused on how we're growing, what we're growing, how we're healing. Sometimes it's like, let me relax into the pure joy of what is in this moment and exactly the version of myself who I am in this moment. I know I'm looking to potentially refine or chisel in this way and in this way, but I can also love the shit out of her right now as is. Mm-hmm. I can also love how she's showing up to herself even when she hasn't figured out this tool yet. I can still celebrate the process. So that's kind of like the way that I move. But definitely I introduce breath to everything. I introduce Reiki to everything. I find ways to do both in every part of my day.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I've seen the breath work that you've done on social, on following you on social, and Milah's really inspired me to. I mean, I've always incorporated breath, but like honestly, like I feel like there has been even sort of like don't breathe too loud. Like,
that's weird. You're acting weird. Like, you're not on rhythm. Like, why are you just dancing for no reason? Chill out. Like, you're being weird.
Oh my!
Don't breathe too loud.
Stop.
Like,
don't make us all moan right now. Don't
like
do
even
it.
like when
Stop.
you go in a yoga class and you hear that one person that's like and you're like shut up.
Someone's
always
me.
gotta
It's
do
so
the
dramatic.
So extra.
No,
and
it's
it's
me.
like they're having the best class ever.
We get it. The posture.
Right, like relax.
Yeah.
But like no, it really has helped me. So thank you, Milah. And I'm so happy that we have reconnected. I know, and you live in the valley, so now you're not gonna get rid of me.
We're like damn near
I'm coming over to your house immediately.
I just want you to know, me and Erica.
Bring the thing.
We bringing it.
Me and Erica recruit all of our guests to be our best friends in three-way group text. So our birthdays are 3 days apart. We're best friends now. We both like to
dance,
moan.
Let's smoke.
Yes.
Let's moan.
Let's dance like ground naked in the backyard. Let the kids run free. I'm about that life.
Absolutely.
Put intention into our water together.
Same. And I'm only available for people like this in my life. Like,
period. Girl, say that
has
shit
been
again.
The gift of like being this version of me in the pandemic. It's just like there's no time to be wasted.
None.
I want only people near me that we want to be naked together sometimes.
Yeah. Hold my hand. Can we cry? Can you hold me? Can we hold each other?
Let's hold it. And you know what you said too, and I know we're ending, sorry not to drag it on, but like when we were talking about like how breath work shows up or like making sounds, like last night after I did that 2-hour journey, I went and I took a shower and I just started making crazy sounds in the shower. Perceived crazy, it's not crazy. But I was just like, what would this sound like? And I was like, ooh, ooh, ah, ah. And then I was like, rah, ah. And then I just started making any sound that came to me. And it's like doing that, it creates like such a freedom and a spaciousness in you. Like create with your breath, like make sounds. What's inside of you that wants to come out? Like kids give it space.
Yes.
Kids do it.
We've forgotten.
Kids do that shit all day. They do weird shit all day long. My daughter is a fucking weirdo and I fucking love her. Yeah. Showing me shit like, look, Mom. I'm like, what the fuck? Oh, that's great, honey. Lately my daughter's been taking showers alone, which has been wonderful. Like we've gotten to this new ritual of like every morning you take a shower, okay? Like sometimes we'll skip a day and I'm like, you know what? No, we're not skipping no more days. And so she has been really enjoying it by herself and I hear her in there making all types of sounds and shit, singing. Like
water is therapeutic. There's some ancient like healing because Luna does the same thing. She'll get in there even as a young kid. Like
she was in there
Little
forever.
Mermaid.
I had to get her out. I'm like every morning. I'm like, oh babe, it's been 30 minutes.
There's deep healing in water. That's why, and the kids be knowing, girl. The kids be knowing.
Connected.
Yeah.
The primitive things in you that want to come out. It's okay to give you permission to let them out.
So Devi, can you tell our people where they can find you?
Yes, hit me on the gram. All my channels and my website is just Devi Brown. So Devi, Devi, Devi Brown on IG. You hit my link in bio. It leads you to all the places and all the things.
Awesome. And you guys know where to find us. Instagram at goodmoms_bad-choices. Make sure you follow us on Patreon. That's patreon.com/goodmoms-bad-choices. Devi's going to be blessing us with a full moon meditation. It's a little 5-minute short little meditation, but get us in the spirit. You know, me and Jamila are always about manifesting, period. But on the full moon, and even after we had this conversation last month with Loose Warrior, y'all need to be manifesting on your periods.
My period is like on at the end, but I was feeling bitchy about it. I had to tap in. I'm like,
have you heard about the red tent? Okay, so Loose Warrior, she talked to us about the
I
red.
love her, by the way.
Oh, she's amazing. She talked about the red tent and basically how, like, in ancient history, women were put in this. They had this red tent in these tribes, and all the women, because their cycles would be the same, because, you know, once us women get together, our cycles start to be similar in the moon, and they would all go into this red tent, and they would anything that the tribe needed to get done,
they would
write it down, give it to the women. They'd go in the red tent
and pray over it
and manifest.
They believe that
for the community.
When you're on your period, you have a direct like channel to God.
Yeah.
So we've been tapping in on that.
And I guess what? I'm going to be on my period on the full moon, so I'm red tenting and full moon manifesting.
It's on Saturday?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Sunday,
I hope my period doesn't end by Saturday. So me too.
I feel like you got 3-day residual effects.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm sure me and you have manifested a lot of shit on our period together. In
Absolutely.
Unison. And also, in addition to that, please go check out our girls' new children's book, Mommy, Can You Rap Me a Bedtime Story by Jessica Schrody, a.k.a. Jessica Rose, because it's the bomb, and she's about to...
And we've been drinking out of her glasses all day. We're drinking wine. These are her baby daddy tear glasses. Our baby daddies are crying right now.
And we're drinking their tears. Stay hydrated, ladies.
I'm choking on them.
Just like a baby daddy. Just like a baby daddy would.
Oh, he would. Damn it. Anyway, you guys know where to find us. Like I said, have an amazing week, and we'll catch you next week.
We love you. Bye.
Bye.